Welcome, everyone. Our guest demo artist today is Adriane Dedic. I've known Adriane for quite a few years, and I've always been very impressed with her creativity in her art, from pottery to printmaking to wearable art, and her current passion, collage using fabric. Adriane has been the recipient of many awards, and her art has been in exhibits all over the US, including the DeYoung Museum. In 2019, Adriane was one of 6 artists in the world whose design was chosen to be made into an imperial fan for the new Emperor of Japan. Today, Adriane's demo is entitled The Art of Collage Using Fabric. Adriane, Fremont Art Association welcomes you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mary. Thank you, Tatiana. I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy to be sharing my art in this Zoom demo. Thank you for inviting me. So when people see my fabric collage pieces, they immediately think that they're paintings when they're looking at them from a distance. And it's only when you get up really close that you can see it's many layers of fabric that I have used various techniques, including heat fusing and stitching, to create the final design. So I'm going to show you some of those techniques that I use, but before I got into fabric collage, I did a lot of other art techniques, and I thought it might be fun to take you on a little journey, and it's my little art journey, and kind of show you where I started and how I got to where I am today. So I'm going to share my screen and do a little slideshow. Okay. Whoops. All right. I think this will work. So this is my art journey. The piece that you're looking at right now is a piece that I really enjoy doing. It's a series called My Best Friend, and it's I use like a collage, different kinds of fabrics of flowers and birds around whimsical faces. But this is a little later in my story that I got into the fabric collage, so I'll kind of go back and start a little earlier. I kind of think of myself as a figurative artist, since almost all of my art features a female figure. And my interest in figure drawing began when I was a child. I think Lena wrote about this when she wrote the little promo, that when I was a kid, I used to design lots of cutout, design clothes for my cutout dolls, and I had shoe boxes full of outfits that I had designed. And then when I was in 3rd grade, the teacher asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. And I wrote that I wanted to be a fashion designer. In 1965, I headed to the University of Cincinnati to study fashion design, and then was hired by a junior sportswear designer to be a junior sportswear designer for a company in the Midwest in 1968. And my designs and illustrations appeared in 17 magazine and Women's Wear Daily. And you can see a few of my designs here that I made for the company. The little tiny photo up there is a picture of one of the models wearing one of the outfits. But what I really liked best was fashion illustration, was illustrating my designs. And you know, here I was in the Midwest, and California sounded really exciting. So I headed out to California and showed my portfolio of sketches of my fashion illustrations to boutiques and advertising agencies and department stores, and started getting freelance assignments. And these are a few of the illustrations I did for one of the boutiques that I was hired by to do their newspaper ads. And you know, at that time it was very different, because now when you see ads for clothing, it's all color photographs of people wearing the clothes. But back then, how you did that was in black and white ads in newspapers. So these were my illustrations. So here I was in California, in Silicon Valley, and it's in the 1980s, you know, and it's a high tech all around me. And I thought, if I really want to be making more money, I better get into high tech. And because I was really good at inking, I was hired by Ford Aerospace to be a technical illustrator. Then I was later hired by Iden Microwave to be a technical illustrator and also work on their customer newsletter. And there I had the opportunity to, because they could see that I could do more than just technical illustration, they asked if I, excuse me, wanted to design the cover of their international magazine, which I did. So the microwave amplifier is that product in the front. And then I talked to the different engineers to find out what applications, how is this used? And that was the inspiration for the different kind of collage of illustrations I did around this product. And then I also worked for some startup companies, and I was hired to do for their software manuals and documentation to liven them up. Rather than have this kind of dry technical information, they wanted some artwork added to it. So I designed these icons for one company for the different chapters in their technical publications. So this opened the door to publication design for me. And then I was hired by Hewlett Packard to design and produce their technical user publications. So here I was, you know, in this high-tech world, and it really wasn't my world. I felt like an alien. I'm sure some of you might be able to understand that. So I had to get back, you know, into my art world. And what I ended up doing was after working during the day in high tech, in the evening I would take classes, and I started studying printmaking at Cal State Hayward in the evening. And of course, because of my interest in the human figure, most of my etchings and lithographs and woodblock prints included the figure. This is an example of one of the color lithographs that I did. And these are more examples of, the one on the left is a soft ground etching, and then the one on the right is a lithograph. And you can see the influence. I was always taking life drawing classes, studying anatomy, and greatly influenced by Rodin and Michelangelo. Oh, please ask questions as I go along. So here I was doing these etchings and lithographs, and I was entering competitions and getting awards. But when I went to galleries and showed them these pieces, they said, you know, we really don't show nudes. And so I thought, what am I going to do? And I decided, you know, I had to put clothes on my nudes. And because I always loved the Japanese culture, naturally, I gravitated toward geisha and started designing these geisha figures in kimonos. And the one on the left is an etching. And I was trying to incorporate, I love Japanese woodblock prints. So I was trying to incorporate the feeling of a Japanese woodblock print in an etching. And that's a black and white etching with some hand-colored Persian blue and magenta. And then I used, those different shapes were pieces that I applied that blocked the ink when you're printing. So it created a little bit of an embossed feeling. And because with printmaking, if any of you have ever done that, you need a different plate for every color, and it's a very tedious, time-consuming process. So what I experimented with was scanning in my etching into the computer and then using the artist tools in Illustrator and Photoshop to add different designs on the kimonos and more color. And the the two pieces on the right are examples of that. So they started out as etchings. The one in the center was a simple 2-color etching. And then in the computer, I added more colors and more designs on the kimono. And the same on the right. And this series, my series of geisha, was exhibited at Hakone Japanese Gardens in Saratoga. I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but it's a really beautiful Japanese garden, and my pieces were in their historic tea house. But then again, printmaking was messy. I'm working with inks and chemicals, and it's time consuming because you really have to commit when you're printmaking, you know, several hours to be working on it. So I wanted a different medium where I could work on it little by little and it wouldn't be so messy, and started experimenting with fabric collage. And my first pieces, I really didn't have a process. I was just kind of winging it. And then I took probably a lot of you know Denise Oyama Miller. She had a workshop called Mix It Up. It was actually for her quilt making artists that wanted to break out of the more traditional quilt making techniques. And I went into the workshop from an art background, trying to learn some fabric and quilting techniques. And these are the two pieces that I did after I learned some of those techniques, which included the heat fusing that I'm going to demo in a little bit. Also, I joined, encouraged by Denise, I joined an organization, Studio Art Quilt Associates. And that gave me the opportunity to really meet with other artists who are using fabric techniques in more creative ways, and actually an exhibit. So this was the first piece, my first piece that was in a Sakwa exhibit. The theme was fiber theatrics, so every art piece had to be, of course, with fabric and a theatrical theme. And because of my love of Japanese culture, and I had been to a kabuki performance in Japan, I did this fabric collage piece of a kabuki warrior. And you can, I think it's pretty obvious, you know, about the different fabrics that I'm using for the different parts of what he's wearing in the background. Also in that same fiber theatrics exhibit, I entered this piece. And this is called Kyoto Rain. And this was also inspired by Japanese woodblock prints. They do that when they carve the wood, they do these very thin, sharp diagonal lines in the wood for rain. And when I saw that, I just knew I wanted to do a fabric piece and use silver metallic thread for the rain. And you can't tell probably from looking at the slide, but that has all silver metallic thread for the diagonal rain.
Adrienne, what size are these last two pieces?
20 inches by 30 inches. The warrior might have been bigger. I think that one might have been 36 by 48. But I tend that's a little bit harder for me to handle, and 20 by 30 is the good size for me.
That's interesting because that's the size. 22 by 30 is the size of watercolor paper.
All right.
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
The metallic thread, is that sewn into it or quilted or?
Yes, I wanted for the metallic thread, I wanted you know, really the feeling of those sharp lines. So it was a long, I hand did it. So it was a hand stitch that might have been maybe 2 inches long. Maybe some of them are 1 inch long. Yeah, to really give the feeling of have the metallic thread give the feeling of the rain.
Thank you.
Okay. Then this was the Studio Art Quilts collaborated with the California Printmaking Society, California Society of Printmakers, for an exhibit where every piece had to combine both quilt making or quilting techniques and printmaking. So that was a perfect opportunity for me to combine both of those techniques that I had been working in. On the left, you can see it's a simple etching of a figure. And on the right is how I collaged it with different pieces of fabric. There's gauze in there, there's fabric in her hair, there's ribbon forming the border of that little square around her. There's thread kind of just looping around her. And I also, you'll probably recognize some of those figures around her are from those lithographs and etchings I had showed you earlier. And what I did is in the computer, I made them smaller and then printed them on tea bags. So this is, the exhibit is called Printed and Stitched. It's a traveling exhibit. And so it's continuing for a couple more years. And Mary mentioned the fan that I designed for the Emperor of Japan. I just wanted to show you a picture of that. The artists were provided that kind of curved shape as a template, and you could use any medium you wanted to submit a design to be considered. And I figured people would be doing, you know, koi fish and chrysanthemums and dragons, and I knew I had to do something different. So I researched Japanese spiritual creatures, and what I found was that there's on the left, it's the emperor butterfly, this purple butterfly, which is indigenous to Japan. So I thought that would be perfect. And then on the right is the let's see, what's that called? The peacock butterfly, and that's also indigenous to Japan. So I thought that was kind of really fitting for welcoming the new emperor and his wife. And so this, and I did this all digitally. You can see my fan, the actual version that was produced in Kyoto, in the center, and that's actually the high priest signing the back of my fan. I got a fan, but mine isn't signed by the high priest, but that one there went to the emperor, and it's signed by the high priest. Then this, Mary also mentioned my piece that was in the De Young, and this is a fabric collage art quilt piece. It's 15 inches by 45 inches, and it's Eve in the Garden of Persimmons in winter. So that's me pointing to it at the De Young. And
That was a wonderful exhibit. I went in to see that, and a number of artists I know were in it, and your piece is magnificent.
Oh, thank you very much. And it's interesting because I did this, created this piece for an art exhibit called Prism Play, where every artist got to pick a color, and then that you could only use that color, that single color in your piece. So I picked orange, knowing I would be doing figures, and that would give me a range of skin tones. And then every artist got a color card that had that color and the tints and shades of that color. And you couldn't use black, you couldn't use white, you couldn't use any other color. So I had to shop around for fabrics that just fit that color range. So every piece in this Eve in the Garden of Persimmons is in the range of orange, either a shade or a tint. And the lightest that you can't really see here were lace kind of shaped flowers that I used to represent snowflakes. I'm just going to show a few other examples of my fabric collage, large pieces. This is 36 by 36. This is called Body of Art 2. This, my second love to art is film. So I did this piece for an exhibit called Stitching California, where every piece of art had to represent something about California, either history or culture. So I picked the movie industry, and it's about 15 inches by about 45 inches. And I was simulating film strips and starting with black and white, Charlie Chaplin, and his films were made in Niles. Bronco Billy, the first Westerns, were also made in Niles. Betty Davis, which was film noir. Audrey Hepburn, you probably recognize. Breakfast at Tiffany's, that was the romance films. And lastly, Shirley Temple with musicals. So that was kind of a little kind of movie memories theme art quilt. These are a few other of the larger fabric collages I've done. These were some commissions. On the left is a African girl playing a flute, and you can see the different fabrics that I used for the backgrounds, the animals, and her skirt. And in the center, that's a piece that I've done, that figure. She's playing a biwa, which is a Japanese instrument, and I had done a piece, and a couple really liked it, but they wanted me to add, wanted to know if I could do it and add peacocks in it. So that was special for them with the peacocks. And then on the right is an African warrior. And you can, I mean, now that I pointed out to you, you can tell they're not paintings, it's all fabric pieces that are making up these. These are all 20 by 30. So that's my presentation. And I'd love for you to come to my art studio. I'm having an open studio December 7th and 8th, and then you can see them up close. This is another example of that kabuki warrior piece on the wall. And I do wearable art where I've put some of my designs on scarves. So that's what I'm wearing there. So if anybody has any questions, I can answer them, and then I'm gonna start showing you how the different techniques I use to create these fabric pieces. Any questions? Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. And I'm gonna show you what I'm going to demo. So it's not figures. I'm going to do, I've done a series, the Enchanted Bird series. So I'm going to do a little enchanted bird collage, fabric collage, and show you the different techniques. This one is called Outside My Window. And this is another example from that series. This is called Fly With Me. And for collages, I've used fabric, and you can use a lot of different things. If you notice here, I've also added postage stamps at the bottom. I found postage stamps with birds on them.
Adriane, do you have a regular sewing machine or something special?
No, mine is just a regular sewing machine, and that's my least favorite part of doing these fabric collages. It's like I'm finally making friends with my sewing machine, but there's a lot of times we're just not friends. So I do a lot of hand stitching on my fabric collages.
Yeah, I'm going to figure out how I can, I want to adapt some of the things you're doing, but without stitching, but using acrylic paints as the glue.
Yes, absolutely.
Acrylic medium.
Yes, absolutely. Because I actually you can do it without any stitching. And I use stitching for details when I'm doing the figures, for details on the faces, to add the features, and I'll do it to add visual interest, but it's perfectly fine without it. So I'm going to show you some of the materials that I use. The main one is Wonder Under, and that's a heat fusible. I get it in a roll and then cut the pieces to the size I need. So one side is smooth, the other side is the fusible side. I use that mainly, But I've just started also using Misty Fuse, which is also a heat fusible.
Are these all kind of Joanne sort
Yeah.
of stuff? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And then I use a backing before I lay down my background fabric. And this is what it is. It's a heat fusible Pellon 987F. So I cut this to the size of my background fabric, and that's going to be my substrate. You know, I've got this backing and the fabric, background fabric, heat fused to it, and that's the substrate that I start layering my design on. Let me put this in here. I'm just gonna give this a minute. I just want to get the iron activated. One important, really important thing to have is, where is it? It's parchment paper, because that's what you're going to, whenever you're doing your heat fusing, your ironing, you're going to lay the parchment paper down, because that protects the fabric that you're working on, and it also protects your iron. Otherwise, you'll tend to get some of the fusible kind of adhesive in your iron. Put this over here. Okay. Of course, the other things that you'll want to have, of course, your iron and your ironing board. I've got a surface here that I'm going to use for ironing just to make it a little easier. And this is a matte medium. That's also an option to use. I'll use that sometimes for smaller pieces. And of course, you want your, your cutting tools, your scissors. This is a rotary cutter that's kind of handy. Straight pins I also use. And, any other optional sewing materials. Okay, so I'm gonna tilt my screen down, and you can let me know when you can see things pretty well.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Is that working okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as I said, I started with this Pellon backing, and it's got a fusible side. I determined what size I was going to use, and I decided I wanted to do a 14 by 14 because eventually I'm gonna mount it on this canvas. And it's not necessary to mount it, but that's kind of what I'm going to be planning on doing. So I cut my fabric a little bit, about a ½ inch to 1 inch larger than my canvas, to allow me some fudging and area to extend my design, and then I'll trim it at the end. And then the background Pellon, I also cut to that size. You can kind of see it sticking out a little bit here. And using the iron, I fused the fabric onto the background Pellon. So this is my substrate here. And what I did, this was the fabric, this kind of aqua fabric. I wanted to add some visual interest and not just keep the plain fabric. And this is certainly things that you can do. I used this sponge here and sponged some white and blue acrylic paint on. I used a toothbrush and kind of wiped some of the areas, and a little bit of gold. So I added some white, some darker blue, some gold. And if you can see, I also had stitching. Can you see the stitching? Or you can?
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
can.
Yes.
Okay. So, and that's good to keep the background kind of taut, as I'm going to be layering everything down. And it also added visual interest. I added some gold stitching and some white stitching and just kind of some swirly kind of things. So I said I was going to do my Enchanted Bird series. And what I did is I drew my bird template on a piece of paper and cut out my bird template. I'm going to be kind of placing it, I think, somewhere around here. So that's kind of for reference. But what I'd also like to do is use some yellow fabric back here as a sun. So I figured I think I want my sun about this size, and I've got all kinds of circular lids and stuff that I use for templates. So I want my sun about this size. So I cut my fabric a little bit larger than that, and then cut the fusible pellon to the same, approximately the same size. So my first step is I'm going to fuse this fabric onto the pellon, onto this Wonder Under. Okay, and important is where's my parchment?
Is it here?
Yeah, I'll take one of those. Okay, I got lots of parchment. Okay, so let's see if you can see. I'm going to tilt this a little bit. I'm going to move this a little bit over here, move this over here. Okay, so I'm going to put my parchment on top and iron this. Yeah, the iron wasn't quite hot enough yet, but it'll get activated as I go along. Okay. So that's the key first step. I've fused my fabric onto the Wonder Under. Now I'm going to use my little template here, draw around it. And then and use the scissors to cut it. And the reason I'm doing this before I'm working on the bird is because it's going to go underneath the bird. So of course I have to lay this down first. Then this has a backing on it. The Wonder Under has a backing on it. So now I've got to use this little straight pin here, this kind of hat pin, and score the back of this to peel off the back. So now I've got this heat fusible back here. And this is about where my bird's going to go. I'm probably going to, I think, put my sun about here, I think. So then I'm going to.
Adrienne, is it hard to remember which side? Because that yellow sun the fabric looks the same on both sides.
It does. And I have,
Because most fabrics don't, so I'm thinking that,
Yeah, that's true. Most fabrics don't, and I've made that mistake. But no, okay, so this is really nicely fused down here. So sometimes I like to do a double sun, and so I'm using a little different fabric for that. Here's my fabric. Here's my Wonder Under, cut the same size. I'm going to iron those.
who knew you could have such fun with just fabric and an iron?
And you can see on this piece how the Wonder Under is extending beyond the fabric. So had I not put this paper on, oh, and the reason you use parchment is it tends to not stick to the adhesive. So that, had I not used that, I would have had that adhesive stuck on my iron. Okay, so here's my little second sun. And these are the steps that I do for every piece that I want to add to my collage. So I'm cutting this out.
Curious, Adrienne, if
Yeah.
you've ever added like the Japanese Chiagami papers to one of your collages? In
Oh,
addition,
you will see. And maybe it's not in here, but yes, I do have that. Should be in there someplace. Yes, I have done that.
because I happen to have a lot of those, because I did I learned 10 years ago a mosaic technique using the Chiagami papers, which was wonderful.
Yes, yes. So
Deborah Butterfield up in Santa Rosa does that. Teaches them.
so this is the same steps I did. Okay, see this one, you can tell this is the back, right? It's lighter. So I'm just going to add this second sun right there, and it just makes it just a little bit more interesting. Okay, I'm just going to go with that a little bit more. All right, and when I knew I was going to, this was going to be the design I was going to be working on, I got, I kind of pulled a lot of fabrics that I thought I might want to use. So I might want to add some extra birds, and I pulled out some fabrics that I had that had birds on them. I might not use all these, but at least I kind of have those off to the side on my table. And also I thought I might want to use some flowers, and these I had gotten ready for another collage and didn't use them. So I may want to add those as well. Ribbons, I may want to add some different kinds of things on my bird, including ribbon. And lace. I think lace is always nice on the bird. And I thought someplace in here I had that rice paper. I'll have to find that. Oh yeah, here, it's very little. Here's a little piece of rice paper here. Okay, so now that I've got my sun down, I think I'm going to start working on the bird. Okay. So this is the fabric that I picked for the bird. It's kind of a white, and it's got some sort of flower in it. I used this as my template and drew it on the fabric. I got a piece of Wonder Under, big enough for this piece of fabric. And for this, because it's kind of a larger piece, I'm going to use pins to hold this in place while I cut it out of, cut it out of the Wonder Under.
It's not easier just to fuse the whole thing and then cut it after?
Use the whole thing and then cut it after.
Yeah.
I guess you could. I kind of, then I've got all this Wonder Under here. That's the adhesive that will be,
Ah, gonna stick to, yeah,
it will really stick to this, but it's a little messier, I think.
got it.
So this for me, I kind of like better. All right, so that's pretty good. Yes. Okay. So now I'm going to cut this. And actually first I'm going to cut away some of the extra. And probably, yeah, after I cut this away. Yeah, and actually now, since I've cut a lot of that extra stuff away, I could really just take those pins out and just add the parchment paper on top. Okay. So now I'm going to cut my bird. Any other questions?
Adrienne, what kind of fabric do you use? Is it cotton? Is it other materials?
It's mainly cotton, but sometimes I will use another fabric. I've used some very sheer fabrics because that was the effect I wanted. But mainly it's cotton.
Now, do you ever use a Cricut machine to cut out your pieces?
No, I don't. So here's the bird. Okay. And then we're gonna score it on the back and remove this. Kind of a tedious technique, but for some reason I just really like the effect, the texture. All right. Let's see. Maybe I'll tilt it a little more. Up a little more. Okay. So now I think it's kind of where the fun starts happening, where we can add all the colors and feathers and textures to the bird. And that's where I have this little tray here of different things, lace kinds of things I might want to add. And like we mentioned, okay, here's a piece of the rice paper. Here's another piece of rice paper. Here's another piece of rice paper. Okay, and because these are more porous, I guess, or thinner, I'm going to use the Misty Fuse. So here's the Misty Fuse. I'm going to cut.
Adrienne, could you repeat why you're using the Misty Fuse?
I could use the Wonder Under for this, but I thought it'd be interesting to show you, another option. And I tend to like to use the Misty Fuse for thinner pieces, especially for the lace. It just, I don't know, it just kind of feels right. It's I mean, the Misty Fuse is only one step, so there's no backing to peel off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a chunk of the Misty Fuse that I can be cutting from.
Do you ever use the spray instead on something that's very fine like this? Because there's a spray
Well,
tacky glue.
I haven't. So this is the very sheer Misty Fuse. And what I'm going to do is this piece of rice paper, I'm going to lay it on here so that I can cut pretty close. It kind of disappears, so it's okay if it's not exact, but I'm going to cut pretty close to this shape. And I'm going to lay it down here. And then I'm going to put the parchment on top and iron. So it's heat activated. So now that is fused down. And this rice paper is kind of neat because it's got these gold sort of threads through it, which I think are kind of nice for the bird. So I'm going to do another little piece for this. And here's one of the pieces from this lace here. It's got this flower, and it's got a little bit more color to it than the rice paper was almost the same color as the fabric. This has a little different color, and I like that kind of curved edge there to put like it's on the edge of the wing. So I'm going to use the Misty Fuse for that as well. I've got this little pink lace that I think will add some color too. So maybe I'm going to put that over here.
Adrian, I'm seeing the pencil lines around the bird. Is that?
Yeah. That usually doesn't bother me. You can see over here where I've put the lace, it
Mhm.
covers it up.
Right.
Once I put this little piece of lace down, it covers it up. I could have, when I cut it out, trimmed it a little closer so those wouldn't show. But normally they don't bother me. They generally get covered up, and once you get a lot going on, you kind of don't even notice them.
Right. And I think it adds a little interest too.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's see. There's something else I like. This fabric here. It's a ribbon. So I might put that maybe for the tail over here. Probably want a little more color, so maybe I'm gonna cut this into two. kind of usually wait till till I've got more on it to add more of the color pieces, but I'll put those two on.
Thanks.
Yes, yes, can't forget that. Yes, and Rose here is with me here, and she said I've got the face too. So I thought I would use this for the beak, this kind of orange with some gold on it, and I have the beak drawn on the back. So I'm gonna, just so it has a little more personality as I'm working on it. I had already attached the Wonder Under to this. I hope the adhesive is good enough. Let's see, put that probably about there. And for the feet, I actually have some, it was from a flower pattern, and these were branches. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I think I might have those work for the feet. Don't know how I'm gonna do it, but somehow put them like that. So I already have the Wonder Under in the back. I'm gonna take that off. Actually, I'm gonna cut this a little better and then take it off.
So it seems like you could do quite a number of layers on this.
Oh, you could do, yes, a lot of layers. And you know, just think of different things that you could add to it.
And I like the fact that you're adding rice paper along with the fabrics. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to get those feet the way I like. I do like the rice paper, and there's so many nice colors and textures.
Oh yeah, I have quite a collection of rice papers.
So I'm getting this other foot ready here.
But I like what you did to prepare the whole background. I mean, the main background were, you know, with the acrylic paint that just really makes the background work.
It adds to it, I think. Yeah. So let's see. How did I have these feet? I don't remember. Okay, we'll just do it like that. Now for the eyes, I could just use acrylic paint, you know, and just dab two eyes there. I also have this black fabric that I was thinking I might, I already have the Wonder Under attached on it. So I might cut 2 little circles out of this and see if that'll work, see if I like that.
Adrian, what if you fuse something on and then decide later, oops, I don't want that? Can you take it off?
Yes, I've done that, and if it's a small piece, you usually don't have a problem. If it's a larger piece, then if you're going to be putting something else there instead, that would probably work. But it can be tricky to take something off and then still have it look good.
I couldn't tell by looking at your other artwork. Do you also do top stitching with the sewing
Yes.
machine across? Okay.
Yes. Let me see. This piece here. Well, let's see. This had stitching in the background, not so much on the top. My larger pieces, though, I will like stitch, the outline of a shape like this.
And how stiff is that once you're done? It's,
This one had a stiffer pellon behind it, so it is a little stiffer. And I also, because I'm not mounting it on canvas, I also backed it with a fabric.
yeah.
And it also has a lot of stitching that's making it firmer.
Interesting.
You also
Okay.
add sometimes a thicker backing, so it does more of a 3D effect when you come back around like a normal quilter to make
Sure,
it more
you
rounded.
can do that. Some people just use a piece of felt on the back. So I'm going to put these eyes here. Okay. Yeah. Rose is happy now that he has a face. Okay, she says now it's got some life. All right, so let's see. What else can I add? I've got this lace, which I think would be really pretty. I think I'll put this in the center. And I don't think I want the whole big chunk, so I'll cut it a little bit. Maybe put that there. Get my Misty Fuse. So I think the pink really shows up over here. So I'd like to use that in another place. I'm not sure where. Maybe I'll put it right here.
And the backing with the adhesive, that is kind of a translucent. I mean, it's not opaque, but it's more or less translucent. Is that correct?
This backing back here?
No, that you're using to, I forgot the name of it, that you're using
Oh,
to
Misty
adhere all the
Fuse. Oh,
pieces.
absolutely. I mean, this is, where'd it go? It's so, yeah, it is so, here it is so, all it is this fiber.
Oh,
this
so it's very thin.
Yes, it's very, yeah, just
So,
like,
so it's a little bit translucent. So it does add a little opacity.
no, I'd say it disappears.
Oh, really? Okay.
This disappears. Yeah.
So it's like a very fine mesh or something. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's just this mesh of fibrous that's, I guess, been treated somehow, so it's got an adhesive.
So once you pull the backing off of it, there's just the adhesive left, which is mostly transparent, is what you're saying.
No, the Misty Fuse has no backing.
Oh.
See, that's why it's a much simpler step. I just
Oh.
cut it to the sort of the shape
Yep.
and then put it down, iron, and it disappears. It's the Wonder Under.
Okay, the Wonder Under has some substance to it.
Yeah, the Wonder Under has more substance to it. So it's interesting. They just kind of changed. I noticed that the kind that I just ordered has more of a texture on the adhesive side.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Ah.
and then this is the paper backing that I'm cutting off.
But when you pull the paper backing off, like one corner of that, what's the color? Is it opaque or is it?
No, I would say it's translucent.
That's translucent.
Yeah.
It's just the
Oh,
paper.
here you
backing.
go. Okay.
Okay, that's what I was wondering what it looks like.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So it's like translucent. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's not as sheer as the Misty Fuse, because the Misty Fuse
Okay.
has a lot of openings, and it's fibrous. This is more of a, a piece,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still very, very, very sheer.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So should I keep going? Should I just keep adding? Oh. You wanted the bottom down here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see how you do that.
Oh, okay. All right. So I was thinking I might want to add like he's flying over rocks or something. So I thought maybe having this down here might add some interest. I already attached the the Wonder Under to it. So I'm going to cut this. Just well, I think it'll be okay. I'm going to put it here. I have if you've noticed, I have a blue line showing pretty much where the 14 inches where my trim is going to be. So I'll have to add that back on this piece of material here, because I always like to know where my trim is as I'm working on it. But I'll add this piece down here so we can get some interest in the background. But the bird definitely needs a little more. Yeah, definitely needs a little more. Trying to think. I kind of want to add something to him. There.
Oh, something feathery or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, something feathery, something lacy. But we'll do this down here.
Well, maybe that would be on the tail, that piece you just had.
You want that for the tail?
No, well, I want to see what it looks like on the tail.
On the tail. Okay, like down here? You
Yeah.
like that?
Maybe
Let's put it down here for the tail. Okay. We got that piece for the tail. We'll do this one. Yeah, that's a good tail, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, we'll do another one for the tail.
Use for all those lacy bits of stuff I've collected over the years.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I think that's kind of a nice tail. I kind of want a little opening more there. So
Mm. I don't know if the people on the Zoom call are familiar with Fabmo in Sunnyvale. The Fabmo not-for-profit.
Yes.
They're phenomenal organization. Unfortunately, I have too much stuff from them, but all the very high-end fabrics and also leather and a lot of other materials as well. So all on a small, modest sale or donation basis. But it's wonderful that they rescue all these high-end sample books and stuff from the designers in San Francisco that would otherwise go to landfill.
that's true.
Yeah.
So Mary or somebody was asking, if you make a mistake and you don't want something, how easy is it to pull up? I kind of wanted more space here and was trying to
Ah.
trying to pull it up, and not real easy. It's fused down pretty well.
Well, no, put the iron on top of that first, get it heated up, and then you might be able to pull it off.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we'll get this this little tail here, and then for Rose, we're going to do the bottom. Okay, so there's a little curvy lace for the tail. Looks nice. Okay, so I'm gonna do this, and I think I'm gonna make this just a little bit more ragged, not such a smooth curve. Okay, so maybe that's a little more interesting. Okay. Yep, Rose agrees. Okay. So
Give you some feedback.
yeah, I'm gonna score this, peel it off. We need, I think we'll make it a little lower over here because of the tail here. And let's see, and maybe if I want to add, if I wanted any other birds in here, that might be kind of interesting. So maybe I'm going to add this here. But I really like, oh, maybe this one. This one facing in. Okay, we'll do this one. And then I'm gonna
And
add,
that already has a similar background.
it does, so it kind of works.
Yeah.
Okay, gonna cut this a little bit. What I really want is, I like those red kind of berries, so I'm probably gonna stick some of those on to add those berries. But you can see how it's starting to take shape. Well, maybe do we want another one? I just really want some of those red berries in there. Oh, and it was interesting. There was a piece that I just kind of liked. And I know it kind of doesn't mean anything, but I just kind of liked it in the sky. What do you think? What do you think, Rose?
I like it.
Do you like it? Okay. All right. So we're
I don't think you have to be realistic. on
okay.
this piece.
So we're gonna put this in the sky.
Horizontal or vertical?
Let me see.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll do it like this.
Mhm.
Okay, we agree. All right.
Oh, the next piece.
Okay.
How many want this piece?
And I think here's my little collection of birds. Here's my little collection of birds. I think maybe does it need a little bird in the sky or not? No, no. Okay, okay. This is no.
No.
No bird in the sky. But we might want a bird down here.
Yeah, lower.
Want a bird down here with some flowers.
Wow, flowers.
Okay, all right. Flowers and
How many want flowers?
okay, we're gonna do a flower. Oh, look at this piece of lace here. That looks pretty. I think I got to put that down. Okay. So we can just keep going. I think the bird needs a lot more. Lot more. We can add more down here. Can add another little bird over here. Or I've got these cute little birds for down here.
On rocks.
Go down here on the rocks. So Mary, what do you think? Is that and Tatiana, and is that uh, should I stop or do you want me to keep going? Because it's pretty much, the same techniques, just repeated.
Okay, you still have a little bit more time, so if
Okay.
yeah, let's just finish
when-
with the bird. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we have questions. Anyone questions? And we have comment here about spray glue. Jenny said, I brought up the spray glue as I use that when using really sheer fabric, so they retain their opacity without being affected by either iron or adhesives.
So what's the question?
It's not a question, it's just like a comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take a look in meeting chat.
Oh, do you see it in chat? I bought, I think to use that really sheer fabric so they retain opacity without being affected by other adhesive. Yeah, that's interesting. Have you is the spray glue pretty what should I say? Pretty direct and contained, so there's no fumes or anything.
It depends on which kind you get, because there's multiple
Ah.
different kinds you can get. And
Okay.
if you want it more directed, also, you may want to say have a hole that you're spraying through so it only sprays on that area, especially if something really small.
Okay. Okay.
Like stencil, right?
Yes, like a stencil.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna maybe add a a few more flowers and then add a few more things to the bird, because I think the bird needs some more.
So Adrian, do you, are all your things fused flat, or on some of your artwork, are there pieces that are three-dimensional that will come up off the backing?
I would say most of them are fused flat. The ones that I do a little bit of three-dimensional is that face that I showed you in the very beginning, with the flowers around the hair. Sometimes I will add buttons at the chest, or
right.
if I had butterflies in the hair, I found a little butterfly button and I would sew that on, or sometimes I can use a gel to attach it.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, I had to take a business phone call, but this, it looks like you changed the piece at the bottom, the batik piece at the bottom. You definitely changed the upper line of it to make it much more interesting.
Yes, I did. Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
I missed that
Yeah,
part.
I
I was on a call.
I had cut it in a really nice curve,
Yeah,
which I tend to kind of like really
Right.
nice curves. And then I thought, nah, it's just, it really needed to be more interesting.
more interesting. Yeah, but all those flowers and things, that'd be fun to put down there.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you keep it clean? How do you keep it from getting dusty?
In my art studio, I never open my windows. Because I am afraid of stuff blowing in and blowing around on all my pieces. But as far as yeah, people who purchase fabric pieces, I think they just care for them like a piece of art. Maybe use a little feather duster, to go over the surface. There are sometimes I will I've in the past coated the entire piece with this matte medium, which is pretty much translucent, but and especially, or I might do it, let's say I might do it right here because I want to make sure that these pieces stay down. But I have found that using this, two things. Sometimes in some lighting, you can see the strokes, which I think takes a little bit away. It can be a little distracting. And the other thing is, it can change the color of some fabric colors. I've noticed reds sometimes get a little darker. And when I've done the collage and I really like the brightness of the colors, and then I'll use this and it just kind of lost some of its brightness. And what I've done for that is I created a test strip where the fabric I was going to use, I coated it with a gloss versus matte versus different brands, and see how it would change. And if I was comfortable with the change, you can see. I don't know. I don't know if you could tell, but this is quite a bit darker than this. It lost some of the brightness. So I'll do that sometimes. And like this had this gold metallic look in it that really you lose a lot of that metallic when you're coating it. So I'll do this whole sort of test to see if I'm okay using the matte medium on it or not.
Oh, the matte medium, and there's also gloss medium. So it's not, yeah, there's different, they're all acrylic mediums.
Yes, yes. And on one piece I did, I purposely used the gloss medium in certain areas.
Because it's basically liquid plastic.
Okay. So d- should I put that there? Rose, what do you think?
What?
This little flower here? Do you think that works there?
I don't think so.
Huh?
I'm not sure it does.
Okay, don't do that. Okay.
It's interesting color, but you will need to support it somehow in other spots.
And see,
So probably not.
and the interesting thing is I kind of like when I add stuff that blends in and doesn't really jump out at you, because I think it's kind of nice to have that sort of different layers to an art piece where you don't see something at first, but if you look at it more, you can see, you know, more things there. Okay, well, let's see what else can we add to the bird. Maybe we'll add, I need to definitely do the wings a little more, I think. What do you think for that wing? You like that?
Yeah.
Okay, Rose likes that.
Let's have a vote. Don't let me decide. I'm the great person.
So that adds kind of the feathery effect. Oh, I've got some yellow pieces. I wonder if they might work.
Do you have any light color lacy pieces that aren't white, but are maybe pale yellow or more pink or something?
I have pink. I can add more pink. We need something over here. But I'm not sure about the pink against the yellow. Let's see about white over there. And maybe we'll do a piece of white over there.
Yeah, and the resolution of Zoom, at least on my Zoom, it sort of keeps going in and out of focus, of sharp focus.
Is anybody else having that problem?
Mhm.
Oh,
No, okay.
Really?
It's
Okay.
maybe I have too many browser windows open. That's possible.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, that's pretty.
That's better, huh? Yeah. And let's see. Yeah, maybe we'll add a little bit of lace there.
Adrian,
Yes.
now we're a little bit running out of time. So
Okay.
maybe
I'm going to add this last piece here.
Yeah.
And then you know, I think people have the idea of what's how to use the different using Wonder Under, using this diffuse, and you can just keep adding and adding more.
Would you add any of this ribbon, Adrian?
Adrian, can you turn it around so we can see it right side up?
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
I'm gonna stick this in there.
You must have fun buying the material, finding,
Does that help? I mean, is that?
that looks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it looks very different right side up.
Oh,
Oh,
it is.
I
Oh,
should
that's
have turned
pretty.
it
I like
around and I was working on it. I'm so sorry.
No, we want the
No.
dramatic final look.
But yeah, it's definitely has a lot more whimsy and color and interest than when we started.
Mhm.
Oh, it's very cheerful. Yes.
Yes, yes. I will definitely be adding more to the bird and more color. I'm going to look for, I have, yeah, maybe that will help, that beige
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll definitely add more there. And I do have.
Maybe a little, if there's more of towards the apricot color that's on the wings, the two squares that are on the wings, something
yeah,
that's
yeah.
not quite that bright, but in that direction.
Okay, my assistant over here showed me, yes, I do.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Have some of this ribbon, which could be pretty to add.
That's
Yes, okay.
gold.
I think gold too, yes, okay. So, and about fun shopping for fabrics, no, actually, it's, I usually have in mind what I'm looking for, and it's, whenever you have something you're looking for, you can never find it.
Oh,
Right.
So,
where do you go online, or do you have fabric stores, or they're all disappeared?
I used to go to Joann's and they closed, so that's a big loss. I
Yeah.
have to go to Joann's in Redwood City, and Joann's is not that great anymore.
Oh,
It's
Although
really,
the one in Fremont at Pacific Commons, they have a whole like a discount area where they have huge amounts of, small amounts of fabric and large amounts of fabric that are always on sale.
what store are you talking about?
Joann's in Pacific Commons.
it's not there anymore.
It
No.
closed
When?
No.
A couple years ago.
ago.
No, that's
Yeah.
As far as I know, yeah, there's no
there's
Joann's.
one right near Applebee's.
Yeah, it's definitely closed. Yeah.
Oh, it's been actually a couple years.
Seriously,
Seriously.
for some reason I didn't
Yeah.
know.
So yeah, and as far as buying fabric online, I think that's really hard. You can't really tell what it's going to look like. I mean,
No. So seriously, there's no more Joann's in the area?
seriously, there are no fabric
Andrew,
stores
Dublin.
in the area except in Niles. I have bought some. They don't have a big selection, but they specialize in Aboriginal prints.
Ooh.
And that's where I went to buy my fabrics when I did those African theme collages. I actually use Aboriginal prints fabric for those.
Oh,
Yep. Yeah.
it's sad, huh?
It
I
is.
wonder if you look through sometimes like secondhand stores, if they have maybe clothing
Yeah,
or
well, but the whole point is it's not fun. It's not easy.
yeah,
It
right.
is. It does take a lot of work, and
Right.
especially when I have something in mind and I'm specifically looking for certain kinds of fabrics.
Is there a place still out in, was it Pleasanton or Livermore, that was a huge fabric store?
There are. There's even a place I think in San Francisco or Oakland, but I don't like going that far, so it's just
Yeah.
become a little bit more of
Yeah.
a challenge. But if I have to, then I will. It is just more challenging. That's why I do keep all of my scraps.
Yes.
Yeah. So
This
I
is
know Tatiana
fun.
is probably running
Yeah.
out of time.
Yeah, if any questions, last question, and we have to wrap up. Sorry.
Joanne Fryer
Yeah.
in Dublin says.
This has been fun.
Adrian,
Thank you.
your
I'm
demo
glad
was
I didn't know.
excellent, Adrian. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope some of you are encouraged to try it, and then if you have any
Definitely.
questions, yeah, please reach out to me. And if you'd like to see any of these pieces, actual pieces, please come to my open studio December 7th and 8th.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
thank you.
Susanna.
And
you.
Adrienne, are you going to have other artists at your open studios in December?
Emily Rogers will be at my studio, and she does glass. Beautiful,
Yes, no,
beautiful.
I know her glass, yeah, because I'm a glass artist too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
I've also put in the chat another place that you can find miscellaneous craft supplies and quilting supplies.
Well, I
So-
mean, Michael's at the Fremont Hub has some stuff, but you know,
I've been to Michael's, yeah. It's limited, yeah.
very limited. It's not, I mean, Joanne's was my go-to place and I did not, that's been a while since I've been there, obviously. It's been gone for 2 years.
I wonder if down in Oakland would have really cool fabric.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, Simone. I mean, there are these other places, and I've been to a couple of them over the years, but I just don't like. It's just a challenge now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. It's a challenge.
Well, this came out beautiful. You did a great job.
Oh, I'm glad you like it.
It was
And,
fun watching.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And we
Thank
have,
you.
um,
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you. That was
Bye-bye.
beautiful.
Oh, I forgot to go back to me.
Yes. So we can say thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
we have Artist of the Month yet to announce.